There comes a time in every life when the path ahead seems blurred, and the will to move forward falters beneath the weight of doubt, fear, or comfort. In these moments, people wait for motivation, for clarity, for the perfect time. But the truth is harsh and liberating. The perfect moment will never come. It must be created by force, by the fire of inner will. Success doesn't come to those who wait for inspiration. It comes to those who force themselves to act, even when their hearts hesitate, their bodies tire, or their minds whisper, "Not today." Today, I speak not to the comfort seeker, but to the warrior within you, the silent force that knows what you're capable of and is waiting for you to finally stop delaying your own greatness. Let us uncover the truth about what it means to force yourself to achieve your goals. There is a deep and ancient truth buried beneath the surface of our daily struggles, an insight so simple yet so often ignored. Who you are today is not who you are meant to remain. Life is not a static condition, nor is the soul meant to sit idle in the comfort of familiarity. We are born with the seeds of potential, of dreams not yet lived, strength not yet realized, greatness not yet claimed. But between who you are and who you could become, there lies a bridge. That bridge is not paved with inspiration, nor is it made of fleeting bursts of energy that come and go like wind through the trees. No, that bridge is built, brick by brick, day by day, with discipline. It is tempting to wait for motivation. Many do. They sit quietly in the corners of their lives, hoping for that one magical moment when everything aligns, when they suddenly feel ready to act, to move, to become. But that moment rarely comes, and when it does, it is as unreliable as a dream recalled in the morning light. Motivation is an emotion, and like all emotions, it is transient. It rises and falls, swayed by mood, by circumstance, by the weather, by sleep, by a single cruel word spoken at the wrong time. Discipline, however, is of another realm. It is not a feeling, it is a choice. A repeated choice, made often in silence, without applause, and without the promise of immediate reward. The athlete wakes before dawn, not because he feels like running, but because running is part of who he has decided to become. The artist paints through fatigue, not because every stroke is divine, but because art has become her ritual, her daily offering to something greater. The student studies through nights of distraction and doubt, not because each word excites her, but because the future she envisions demands this sacrifice now. In all these stories, we see the truth, that the self we hope to become does not arrive suddenly one morning. It is shaped slowly and often painfully by the force of deliberate action. Take the example of Michael Phelps. His commitment is almost mythic. For 5 years, he swam every single day, no breaks, no holidays, no excuses. Even on Christmas, even when sick, even when the body ached, was every session thrilling? Certainly not. But that is precisely the point. Discipline demands that we show up regardless of emotional weather, that we move even when our hearts resist. In the act of pushing forward, we discover something extraordinary. We become more than what we were. We rise above the small, self-protective voice that craves ease and comfort. We begin to forge an identity rooted not in fleeting feelings, but in action, in commitment, in becoming. There is a transformation that occurs when one consistently acts in alignment with a higher goal. It is not external at first. No one may notice. The world may remain unchanged. But within, a shift begins. The question is no longer, do I feel like doing this? But rather, is this who I am now? That is the core of discipline, not an act of force against yourself, but a declaration of identity. You no longer push yourself to write, to train, to study. You simply do those things because they are a part of you. The resistance fades not because the tasks become easier, but because you become stronger. This is why discipline is the bridge. It connects the present self to the future self, the ordinary to the extraordinary. But building this bridge is not always graceful. It demands that we stand in the gap between desire and achievement and refuse to surrender. It means choosing what you want most over what you want now. It means acting not for the short-term thrill but for the long-term becoming, and perhaps the most difficult truth is this: the days when discipline matters most are the days when you least feel like practicing it. It is easy to move forward when the sun is shining, when encouragement is plenty, when you feel alive. But what of the gray days? What of the mornings when your body is heavy, when doubt clings to you like fog, when the voice in your head says, "Skip today. It doesn't matter"? Those are the days that build the bridge. Those are the sacred moments, hidden from the world, when you choose again, when you pick up the weight, write the page, take the next step, and in that quiet defiance, shape your destiny. Consider how rivers carve stone not through force, but through persistence. Day after day, year after year, the water runs, patient and unwavering. That is what discipline is, a persistent force, carving away the resistance, shaping your life into something beautiful and true. But unlike the river, you are aware, you must choose the flow, you must return each day and begin again. That is the burden and the beauty of human will. We are not swept by instinct alone, we decide. In a world that worships the instant and despises the slow burn, discipline is a radical act. It is a turning inward, a choice to build rather than to chase. It is often invisible, often thankless, but it is always transformative. Those who practice it become something rare. People whose lives are not ruled by chance or chaos, but by quiet inner power. So when you stand before the gap between who you are and who you wish to be, do not wait. Do not beg the skies for lightning. Look inward, begin to build, lay one brick, then another still. That is how the bridge appears, and one day, almost without realizing it, you will walk across it. Not into a perfect life, but into a truer one. Not into ease, but into meaning, and that is a far greater prize. There is a force within each of us that does not want us to change. It speaks in familiar tones, cloaked in the voice of reason, practicality, or even love. It is the whisper that says, "Stay where you are, this is safe, don't disturb the balance." But beneath that whisper lies something deeper, something ancient and unacknowledged. It is the part of ourselves we bury to appear acceptable to the world, the part we silence to avoid judgment, the part that carries our wounds, our fears, our rage, and our longing. This is the shadow. To grow to truly evolve, we must be brave enough to confront that shadow. We must enter the inner chamber where the voice of doubt resides and listen. Not to obey, but to understand, for what we resist within ourselves becomes stronger. Like a child ignored, the shadow will scream louder until we turn to face it. The fear we run from becomes the chain that binds us. But when we face it, not with hatred, but with curiosity, we begin to transform. Imagine a young woman with a fire inside her, a vision to create something of her own. She dreams of starting a business, not out of vanity, but out of a deep longing to express herself in a way that matters. And yet, each time she takes a step, the voice returns. "Who do you think you are?" it asks. "What if you fail? Worse, what if you succeed and lose it all?" That voice is not an external critic. It is a fragment of her own psyche, forged in years of conditioning, past failures, and the subtle messages that told her she must not outshine, must not dream too big. But she has a choice. We all do. We can listen to the voice and retreat, or we can breathe deeply, acknowledge the fear, and take the step anyway. That step, taken with trembling courage, is not just a business decision. It is an act of psychological integration. It is the claiming of one's full self, not just the part we present to the world, but the hidden parts too. You see, growth does not occur in comfort. Comfort is the realm of repetition. Growth demands confrontation, with the unknown, with failure, with judgment. But most of all with ourselves. We are not divided beings. The part of us that fears is not foreign, it is ours, and only by bringing it into the light, by dancing with it instead of suppressing it, do we become whole. When you walk into that discomfort willingly, not because it is easy, but because you are committed to what you can become, you initiate a transformation. You do not destroy the shadow, you integrate it. And in doing so, you reclaim the energy it once held hostage. That energy becomes your strength, your clarity, your authenticity. So when the resistance comes, and it will, know this, it is not a signal to stop. It is the signpost that you are on the edge of real change. Do not run, stay, face it, and in that sacred confrontation you will find not just courage, but yourself. There exists within each of us a yearning, a longing to become something more than we are today. This yearning often expresses itself in the form of goals, dreams, and ambitions. But these are not idle wishes to be tossed into the wind like feathers, hoping they will land somewhere meaningful. A true goal is not a fleeting desire. It is a solemn agreement, a binding contract made between who you are now and who you are meant to become. It is a psychological commitment, signed not with ink, but with effort, sacrifice, and time. When you set a goal, you are not merely imagining a brighter future. You are invoking a deeper transformation. You are calling forth a version of yourself that does not yet exist and asking them to meet you on the road between intention and realization. Every time you take action toward that goal, no matter how small, you are keeping your side of the contract. But when you procrastinate, avoid, or give up, it is not just a failure of discipline. It is a betrayal of the self you are becoming. Consider the young student who dreams of becoming a doctor. Her goal is not just a profession. It is a vision of purpose, healing, and service. Yet that vision demands more than desire. It demands action. Every late night spent poring over anatomy, every early morning lecture attended, every moment of self-doubt faced and overcome. These are not incidental moments. They are deliberate signatures on the contract she has made with her future self. She is building her identity piece by piece, not in a single grand gesture, but through the repeated choice to honor her goal. And what if she were to wait for the perfect moment, for inspiration to strike, for motivation to arise unbidden? She would be waiting forever. The psyche does not thrive on mood. It is shaped through discipline. The transformation of the self happens not when conditions are ideal, but when we choose to act in their absence. To build the life we imagine, we must be willing to show up even when we are tired, even when we are afraid, even when the shadow of doubt looms large, especially then. There is something sacred in such a commitment. When a goal is treated as sacred, it is no longer negotiable. It becomes an oath, a declaration to the universe and to the deepest parts of our soul. I will become who I am destined to be. And the universe, though often indifferent to idle wishes, responds with strange and mysterious power when it senses devotion. Life bends toward those who bend themselves toward meaning. So if you have set a goal, take it seriously. Do not reduce it to a hopeful thought or a vague intention. Know that you are forging your future self in the fires of daily action, and in the end, it is not the outcome that matters most. It is who you become in the process of honoring the promise you once dared to make. When a human being sets a goal, it may seem like a simple act of planning or ambition, but beneath the surface lies something far more profound. A quiet but powerful transaction between the present self and the self that does not yet exist. A goal, if it is sincere, is never just a wish or a hopeful thought. It is a sacred contract drawn not on paper, but in the inner realm of intention. It is an agreement with the future, and once made, it demands to be honored. Too often, we treat our aspirations like passing desires. We speak of wanting to become something, a creator, a leader, a healer, but we do so as if the universe owes us something simply for wishing. Yet the psyche does not grow through fantasy. It evolves through commitment. When you set a goal and begin to work toward it, you summon into existence a new identity, one shaped by effort, integrity, and persistence. But if you set a goal and then abandon it when discomfort arises, you fracture that emerging identity. You betray not only your future self, but also the deepest part of your soul that dared to imagine a greater version of you. Think of a young student who carries within her the dream of becoming a doctor. The dream is not about status or success. It is about purpose, about standing in service to others, about healing the pain she once saw in someone she loved. That dream lives inside her not just as a hope, but as a calling. And every night she stays up studying, every time she says no to distraction, every tear shed in exhaustion. These are not empty sacrifices. They are signatures. She is signing the contract, day by day, with her own determination. Her pain is not meaningless. It is proof that she is becoming. But if she waits until she feels inspired, until motivation rises from nowhere, she will wait forever. True transformation does not wait for emotion. It is born in the act of showing up again and again, even when nothing inside feels ready. The future does not ask whether you are in the mood. It waits to see whether you are willing to stand in devotion to the self you long to become. You must treat your goals with reverence. They are not toys for the ego or decorations for your imagination. They are oaths, and when you honor them, you declare to life itself that you are ready for responsibility, that you are prepared to carry the weight of who you are meant to be. Life has a strange way of responding to those who commit fully. When you become serious, when you act as if your dream is sacred, doors begin to open, not because the world has changed, but because you have. You are no longer the one who waits and wonders. You are the one who walks forward, bound by a promise, upheld by the quiet strength of a future self who is already watching, already waiting, already believing in you. Destiny is not something bestowed upon us in flashes of divine revelation. It does not descend from the heavens in grand announcements, nor does it arrive wrapped in certainty. Destiny is subtle, almost imperceptible, and it hides itself in the smallest of places, your choices. Not the dramatic ones that others applaud, but the quiet decisions you make when no one is watching. The decision to rise when you feel like collapsing. The decision to begin again after failure has whispered, "It's over." These are the moments where your future is quietly shaped, not by chance, but by will. We like to imagine greatness as something born of rare talent or extraordinary opportunity, but more often it is born in repetition. In showing up, in enduring, a study once followed thousands of individuals over a decade attempting to uncover what determined long-term success. The answer was not brilliance, not intelligence, not even luck. It was consistency, simple, relentless consistency. Those who continued forward, especially when progress was slow or invisible, eventually stood where others had fallen away. The truth is, brilliance is seductive. It promises ease. It offers a flash of light that draws attention, but brilliance is not dependable. It cannot be summoned on demand. It comes and goes with mood, with energy, with circumstance. And when brilliance fails to appear, those who have relied on it find themselves helpless. But those who have trained the will to act regardless of feeling, those who have built the muscle of choice, remain. Think of the worker who wakes before the sun, who builds in silence, unnoticed by the world. Think of the artist who paints even when no one buys her work, who creates not because of applause, but because the soul demands it. Think of the student who studies late into the night, not because the test is tomorrow, but because the dream is real. These are not glamorous acts, they are sacred ones. Each choice is a brick in the cathedral of one's destiny, and yet how easily we discount them. We think it's just one day, or it doesn't matter this time. But destiny is not forged in grand gestures. It is carved from the stone of ordinary hours. The choices you make when you're exhausted, when you're disheartened, when you're invisible, those are the choices that define your character and chart the course of your life. So when the temptation to pause becomes loud, when the comfort of giving up beckons softly, remind yourself this moment is not small. It is everything. You are not forcing yourself for the sake of some external reward. You are doing it because your future self is waiting, because the life you yearn for will not arrive by accident. It must be claimed through discipline, through effort, through love. Your destiny is not beyond you. It is within reach, but only if you continue to choose it one day, 1 hour, one breath at a time. So, here is the truth many fear to say: you will not always be motivated. You will not always feel strong. But you always have the power to force yourself forward, and in that force, in that moment when you choose to rise instead of rest, you become the architect of a future that would never have existed without your will. You don't need the stars to align. You don't need permission. You need to start today, now, in this breath, with what you have, because no one is coming to save you. But you don't need saving. You need awakening. Awaken your will, force the action, and watch as the world bends to your effort.